Hey, 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 good morning, good morning. Look, I gotta say all parts. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. Today it is Ladies Take Over. It's just the ladies' night. And we have the two great attorneys on the screen. I don't know, Olay, if you've ever met Anoa. I don't know if you ever met Olay, but Anoa is someone who has background in law as well as you. So, I mean, look, nice to put y'all together. Hey, what's up? Hello. I love it so much.
Morning.
How you guys doing this morning? I know I had to drag you out of bed, Olay.
No.
And Anoa.
So
I know you got
scramble.
things to do. Yeah. So, but thanks for being here with me on this morning. Georgia couldn't stay for the whole show, but she did start out the show. So it was really good. Hopefully one day we can all be on there. I absolutely love that throughout this whole, show today. Like I was telling Noah, it's funny because there are so many women in this space who do different things, right, in their career, who represent different things. We all look different. I mean, we may be black, but we all look different, all kinds of things. However, I love the different tones of voice, the different attitudes and personality, but it still gives me what I need, And I think in this space it's very important to understand that Black women aren't a monolith. They're not just one way. And even though it means that we're not just one way, doesn't mean that we can't all come together for the purpose of rooting for everybody good and Black. Because, everybody that's skin folk ain't kinfolk. So, yeah. So, we got a lot to cover. I actually wanted to throw an audible. Over the weekend, I know that we didn't get an opportunity to discuss this. I know that you got to leave, so I wanted to get your conversation on Ketanji and her finally being confirmed, y'all. It's been a shit show to watch, really. Like her having to go through all of this hell and high water while some people are saying it's due process, and us having to wait to see that moment for her. Yeah, so please, before we get to the clips of, her finally being confirmed and those things, what was you guys' take for the whole process and, us getting to this place finally? Especially you guys having, being attorneys. Olay, what was first to you? What was going through your mind through this whole process?
Listen, she's a Black woman going through this process, so I expected disrespect and racism it's nothing about it shocked me. Let me say that. That's what I expected. I knew the minute whoever they chose was going to have to put up with a series of disrespect that didn't make any sense. So that doesn't surprise me. I'm glad it's done for her, but I expected it. I anticipated it. I knew they were going to be mad. It is what it is. I'm sure no one knows with Black women that have been in the legal profession. We know how it treats you. It's not even like it's just like that at that point. It's like that. It's a profession. It's filled with all kind of gatekeeping and all kind of disrespect and people who don't want to see you enter certain spaces. So that would have happened regardless if we were watching it on the confirmation hearings or not. So I'm just glad that she's done, and I don't have to spend my week arguing all over the news with all these people that are insisting that it's okay. So I'm just glad, good, she's done, she's in, and it's a beautiful win because not for nothing, I'm a public defender. I didn't have any Black women public defenders or Black women public defenders, Supreme Court justices to look up to. So I'm glad that Black women that are in law school now and that are going to go through the profession are going to have that. So I'm very happy for her. She's adorable. This is a win.
You're a Black public defender with two of my favorite characters in your background too. So I feel like we're going to be we're going to be instant friends.
Yes.
I love it. I just peeped the background. Yes. But I appreciate what you just said, Olay, especially hearing from you as a Black public defender, right? As important as it is that she is, the first Black woman, it is so critical that she is a public defender and a Black public defender, right? Or that she had that experience as a public defender. And even as they try to distort that, right? They try to use that as a problem. Public defenders, and Olay can attest to this from your own experience, play such a vital and critical role. It is a constitutionally it's a constitutionally enumerated and protected role too, right? The right to counsel is in the Sixth Amendment, and Gideon v. Wainwright established, the right for those who cannot afford counsel to be provided. And then so there's this history of the federal system, parallel, state and local systems creating, some hodgepodge of public defenders as well as private attorneys who are then contracted with to provide legal representation for folks who cannot afford it. And so having that mentality, which has not been on that experience that has not been on the Supreme Court since Thurgood Marshall left in 1991, because even though we get amazing dissents and powerhouse from Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Justice Marshall did do indigent defense work. Right. His time in private practice predates the Gideon case, but it's been so critical to setting the stage for other work that has come down the pipeline. So, but I agree. I absolutely expected it. The coverage is what bothered me, I think, more so than anything else. The reluctance to call it racism, the reluctance to really engage with Black media, of course, understands this, right? Black folks, Black women who are covering these things understand this, the misogynoir, other things present, but the absolute ridiculousness of claiming that she is pro-pedophile or that she somehow was just disparaging all women because majority of women when Senator Blackburn was going on this tangent of she was trying to deny a good Christian women their right to the First Amendment when we're talking about people harassing folks at abortion clinics, just the egregious lengths they went to disparage these women because they actually had nothing. They had nothing.
They had nothing. Yeah, they had nothing. So they focused on, honestly, if we keep it real, the real reason they were even attacking the fact that she was a public defender is because the population that most benefits are poor Black and brown people. That's it. Absolutely. That's the real reason. That's the real reason. And that's why they tried to make her record a source of contention. That's what their real problem is. Because at the end of the day, right, the current president is a former public defender. And I didn't hear, that was a blip in the media. I didn't hear any media coverage devoted to criticizing him for being a public defender. No, because he has a tough on crime record. They don't expect him to come in and there be any benefit to Black and brown people. But here they get this Black woman and they say, oh, you've represented poor Black and brown people. You might have some compassion for how they're treated in the criminal system. We don't want that. We want to make this issue. And more importantly, it wasn't even just about discouraging her, trying to stop, because they knew she was going to get confirmed. What it really was about was reinforcing this idea that there was something wrong, that there's something wrong with being sensitive or wanting to respect people's constitutional rights or not being tough on crime or not being as punitive as possible, which is something they want our criminal system to reflect. And that is what our criminal system currently reflects. But it doesn't have to be that way. It shouldn't be that way. And so they want to dissuade us from these notions of this progressive world that they think we're moving towards, which is why they tried to conflate every social justice movement with this woman. They asked her about every social justice movement and accused her of being the harbinger for them all. So that's what happened there. And
Olay, that's interesting that you put it that way, because I can tell you out of all of the Twitter takes and the conversations that have been surrounding that, I haven't seen anybody really flesh out that one where, it's simple, right? We've called it a racist situation. We've said that they put her on the cross for simply her being a Black woman that is going to be in this space, and it makes them uncomfortable. But honestly, the fact that she was somebody who represented and defended Black and brown people really killed them inside, because they understood.
That's what it was.
They understood. I haven't heard that talking point so much, and I think that is so interesting that you put it that way, because it's simply, that's why they were looking for things and issues. The fact that they said you are a public defender, that's problematic, but why wouldn't somebody start from the bottom? Now we hear, why wouldn't somebody be in a place where they represented people that other people wouldn't represent? That's helpful to know that there is somebody who can be in place who understands what it's like to be there, who understands that there are some people who can't get the assistance, and they're in place to do so, to be a representation for those people. I think that is a great quality for someone who is going to represent this country in that way. And I think they try to villainize her. So they tried to vilify her. And you know what? I really love that point that you made. It's so simple, but it's exactly what was happening before our eyes. They were so upset, and that's why they kept questioning her character and saying, you were here so that basically you represented Black and brown people. That means that in this court, if something comes across your desk, like a case of Dante Wright, you're going to look at it and you're going to see it for what it really is. And I think that's what they're so afraid of.
Yeah, you notice the criticism was never about defense attorneys, right? I listened all week and I listened to Ted Cruz's rant about public defenders. I listened to all the criticisms they had. They never made an overall sweeping argument about defense attorneys. They don't have any problem with private defense attorneys. They don't have any problem with you going and representing the people who have the means to pay you all kind of money and represent them no matter what they're accused of. They had no issue with that. They had a specific problem with public defenders. And what is the moral difference, right? Public defenders and private defense attorneys are all defense attorneys. We're all representing people accused of crimes, but you don't have a moral qualm with the people that are getting paid all the money. You have a problem with public defenders, so what's the difference? They represent poor Black and brown people. That was what your issue was. Because you know what I think is interesting? While people are always trying to create this moral divider between defense attorneys or public defenders versus prosecutors, most prosecutors go on to go do private defense. They do prosecution for a certain amount of years to give themselves a career and a way to go do private defense and make all kind of money. How come you don't have a problem with it there? Why is it not a problem? What is the moral outrage? It's because they represent poor Black and brown people. That's what it is. And so I was like, it's the loudest dog whistle of all time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's just beautifully.
Go ahead, Noah.
Now, I was just going to say, absolutely, that's just beautifully said. And the other thing Ole mentioned about conflating all the different social movements that's her. I mean, during the testimony, during the confirmation, the GOP actually had a GIF that like crosses out her initials and replaces it
with CRT.
Right? I mean, in their talking points, they're literally like connecting her to all of these different things that are at the top of their 2022 midterm election like battle cry. I mean, and you mentioned Ted Cruz. I don't know what it was like for you in law school, but I know I absolutely have classmates like him or colleagues from my law school, fellow alum, who would do the same thing, who would try to pretend like, oh, I'm being civil, because we kind of knew each other in law school. Now I'm going to sit here and attack your character and everything you do and misrepresent stuff, even though my kids also go to a school that has a social justice commitment, as I'm sitting here reaming you for this private school that you sit on the board of, right? Like the lengths that they went through during that process, it not only showed us who they were, but it reaffirmed what we know is the strategy going into the midterm elections. We saw Virginia, former Democratic candidate, Terry McAuliffe, one-time governor, fail miserably on responding to CRT, and other Democrats around him failing to address that attack, right? And the situation isn't that, oh, we should call it something different. No, we're not going to let you denigrate decades of Black scholarship, Black legal scholarship, and say it needs a different name. It needs better branding. No, it don't. Ain't nothing wrong with it. No. Ain't nothing wrong with Derek Bell's work.
They don't even know what it is.
They don't even know what it is. You won't put some respect on Derek Bell's name. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not saying that anybody's perfect, but you gonna put some respect on Derek Bell's name.
They don't even know who my man's is. Like, they don't know what critical race. Yo, listen. What I find so frustrating about Democrats is they allow Republicans to play this game and gaslight everybody in their face and stuff. Just start calling stuff what it is. Start saying to these people, first of all, you don't know what you're talking about, and second of all, it's not relevant. What we do is we get bogged down in this dance with them while they're asking the stupidness, and we need to start saying, how is that relevant to anything other than you created that talking point? Because we need to be transparent. Too often, people in these media spaces and people in these political spaces are not being honest. Let's say what happens. These people sit around each other, they have a group, they have whatever it is, and they create talking points. They talk about what their base is, what their base is looking for, what their overall strategy is, and they say, listen, we're going to argue with this, we're going to say this, we're going to focus this, we're going to get caught up in the weeds. They have a strategy. And why are we playing games? Their strategy. That's what it is. They don't know what any of these things are. These are not, listen.
And they've been playing the long game for a long time.
They'll stick to it. They will stick to this certain strategy, like you said, Ole, and it is a long game, Noah. It's like they will stick to it. And you would think on the other side, when it used to be like really a clear divide, now there's blurred lines. Because the other side, they'll try to play the same game, but then it just like they can't take the heat. But those people will devise a plan while their whole state is going down in flames, while they freeze to death. You know what I'm saying? While they can't get no health care, while there is no there's no initiative when it comes to COVID for their people, while they're pushing people back into the offices. They'll go and focus on things like, let's bring this woman down. We cannot vote for her. We have to go and make our talking points include, and their talking points be dumb as hell. We have to make sure the talking points include. We got to make sure the talking points include that we say that, Ketanji is somebody who is qualified in some way, shape, or form, but we make sure we say we will not vote for her. It's so stupid, but they really will power up on that. They will Megatron on that, and they'll form an alliance together.
People out.
Yeah, and they'll form an alliance together to make sure they put her down, they chop her at the knees. Yeah.
And even allowing them to do that, right? Like, oh, she's really qualified, but I just can't bring myself because of her ideology. What ideology? Like, what ideology? What ideology?
We need to start calling people racist. I do not understand why America is so comfortable with making the environment comfortable for people to be racist, for people to say racist things, for people to do racist things, for people to subject you to racist discrimination. But then the problem is, if you say it's racist, like, you're supposed to sit there quietly, start saying it. I don't know why we play this game with them, because that's what it is. It's this game where they get to be as loudly unprofessional, unacceptable, egregious in this public space. And our response is to say, and to, get in our little private, we respond quietly and respectfully, and we don't call it what it is, and we get in our little private circles, and then we kind of say what it is. No. We got to start addressing them from the jump, because they're not prepared for the address. They're not prepared to be addressed that way, and we need to start saying it. The same way they don't have no problem coming out there and showing their ass with their talking points of silliness. We need to start saying, you know what? Right quick, Ted Cruz, could you do me a favor in define critical race theory? Could you do me a favor? Could you tell me when you first stumbled upon it? Could you tell me what are the specific issues you're having? Could you tell me how it's being implemented at these schools? Ask them. Start the same way they don't have any problem putting us on trial for every little thing they come up with their mind and asking us about a bunch of things that are not even in our purview. The things they decide to bring to the table. You know what? Listen, I'm listening. You have the floor now. You have such a problem with critical race theory. Could you please articulate to me exactly what it is and what your problem is with it? And when you're done with that, could you please tell me the relevance to today's proceedings? That's what we need to start having these people do. But instead, we play the game with them. We start doing it. We start defending. We need to start calling what it is. All of this critical race theory attack and all of this, that has been nothing but a big dog whistle for how we suppress Black authors, suppress the social justice movement. That's all it is. The same way everything that they're doing with abortion got nothing to do with being pro. Yes, that's all it is. That's why isn't it convenient that they literally just picked every marginalized group and whatever they think are flagship causes, they think, because critical race theory is by no means a flagship cause in the Black community.
It's a very niche concept.
Highly niche. It's a scholarly thing.
Most law schools don't even have a racism in a law class, let alone a discussion of critical race theory.
There is a lot in education that does not include CRT. If you went to school here, you know that it's like, me too, I wish I was raised on a little bit of CRT. You know what I'm saying? In my system, I had to go get that from my house. I had to go get that from my household. And then I had to go to an HBCU to just get it every day, not knowing what it's CRT, just knowing that there is Black education, there is Black history, there are many things that have happened in this world that surround Black people or Black culture or whatever the case may be. It doesn't mean that it's un-American. It doesn't mean that it's throwing sex into the face of your kids. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that there are Black people who did things in America and we should be learning about it. Whatever these people want to decide, because they let us read books about racism, about Black folks being basically.
Yeah, they don't have a problem telling you was a slave. They don't have a problem. They don't have any problem telling you was a slave. But they have so much of a problem with you saying who enslaved you and why it was wrong, and what the collateral consequences of that is. That's exactly what we need to start. Listen, I am all for the position of calling out hypocrisy and starting to frame these Republicans' arguments against them. That's why anytime you say I go on somewhere else, like when I wanted to talk about them being anti-choice, because pro-life is just not even the truth. But anyway, I frame that as judicial activism because that's what they're looking for. Let me use your words and things you all don't like, your terms, because it's inconsistent. Which is it, right? Either you believe the parents have the absolute right to upbringing their children and the government shouldn't be involved. This is the next thing. So then why is it that you have something to say about what private schools are teaching their kids, what the curriculum is? You worried about the schools, you trying to ban books. What about that is giving you anybody that wants autonomy? For somebody that don't like big government and don't want the government involved and believe that children should be raised by the home, why do you have so much to say? Why do y'all have so much to say and so much to offer except the people that need your resources? There are a whole kind of, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of children in America that are in the foster care system, that are put up for adoption, that need resources, that are living beneath the poverty line, that are subjected to the school to prison pipeline. Why are you not worried about them? The only children you seem to be concerned about are the ones whose parents are educating them in a particular way you don't like, or the ones who are not in existence yet. Is that not an obvious hypocrisy and inconsistency? We have to start saying it. Instead, what we do is we allow Republicans to have no respect for anybody else's cultural practices, anybody else's identity, the way anybody lives their life. None. And then all of a sudden we get into this sensibilities game that we can't tell them that they're uneducated. We can't tell them that we're racist. Why not? Yeah, we have to be as educated as possible, and they get to come up here and question our credentials. So we need to start calling it what it is. Ted Cruz and them don't know their ass from their elbow. Why are we listening to these people?
When they go low, we go lower. I know that she said when they go low, we go high. That's Michelle but we're not in that era no more. We are in 2022. Love you, mean it. But we're going to go to the grave. Like, we're going to take it low. You know, boots with the fur. Low. Noah, thank you so much for being here today. She's going to have to step away. We're going to take a brief break. We're going to be back.
Bye.
Yeah, we're gonna be back with
we gonna holla, and I love you, Rebecca.
Nice y'all gotta get together. It's good stuff. Both of y'all. You need to follow her on Twitter. You follow her on Twitter because then your timeline will definitely be blessed and highlighted. Both of you guys. So yeah, we're gonna take it to the a break. But thanks to Noah for being here with us. More ladies take over, like it or not, right after this.
I've done this before you fall. I won't catch you, don't know I'm stalling. Cause you love to have them all crying. Calling me sweeter, telling me you need me. But I'm from a city that's high school. I give them this anymore, I go. Cause you a bad money, she don't love money. She break grass real fast like conman. When I swim down to the deep end, wanna know all my secrets, honestly. Can you keep it real? Cause honestly, I can tell that you're real fond of me. Baby, don't be shy. I can see it in your eyes. I've been running around. Too bad, I've been sticking out your mind. I know you like it how.
All right, y'all. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Had to change my camera battery. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, man. More likely than not, coming up next, my Rebecca and Olay. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned.
How you taking all my time? Left, right, can you take it all night? Take it, baby, I ain't scared to take it. Oh, and maybe when I take it, I feel it coming down too strong. Cause I want ya, and it's hard to resist cause I need ya. And it's hard, baby, cause I believe ya. Hold me tight, holding on tonight. Holding a couple, no get to your clean and proper. Where I'm moving, no weekend lover. You gonna me on your mind forever, ever. Thanks, baby, turn it down like it's sweet and ready. Go slow, keep it nice and steady. Know that you've been keeping patience. Too bad I've been sticking out your mind. I know you like it how I rock from behind. I know you stand how you taking
JB, absolutely it does.
Too bad I've been sticking out your mind. I know you like it how I rock from behind. I know you stand how you taking all my time.
Hey, David, you good up there, David? I just got a story saying multiple people shot in unexploded devices found in New York. Yeah, make sure that everybody's good up there in NY, man. Okay. All right, y'all, welcome back to the screen. Rebecca and Olay. Good morning, Olay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Listen, we are at the end of it all, but a nice little show. Hey, hold on.
There you go.
Okay,
Look at her background.
I've been doing this. I've been doing this all, like, I don't know, ever since, my nails been green. They've been hitting the microphone, like, and just really cutting me off. So they're more claws. I'm gonna cut them down for Easter. But yeah, I've been grabbing the mic. I've been doing all of these things. Anyways. But yes, we're at the end of our ladies takeover. I hope that we can do so much more of this. But before you get out of here, Olay, I wanted to discuss this particular story. It's been making its rounds. And before I wanted to talk about it, I wanted to get more and see if it was really what it was, because it was giving me that it wasn't a real story at first, and I wanted to make sure it was a real story. And it's about an OnlyFans star. Her name is Courtney Taylor. She killed her boyfriend. She murdered her boyfriend. She stabbed her boyfriend in what they're saying was an unprovoked attack. When it first initially hit social media, it was just like I couldn't believe it. But
I can.
This was, this was on April 3rd. They say it's reported that the 25-year-old blonde, who's an OnlyFans model and has millions of followers on social media, she killed her boyfriend, Christian Tobichiku. I don't know his name, but we know he's African, who was 27 years old during a dispute at their high-rise apartment in Miami. Investigators say that he was stabbed once in the chest and had been involved in a physical altercation before the killing. They let her go, right? They just let her go. And her camp is now reporting that she stabbed her partner in self-defense. They let her go that same night. You can see her on video. There's videos around that she had right here. That she's bloody here. And then they also said that it was a mental situation. She was going through a mental breakdown. Here you can see her, like with her pet here, and then they let her go. Is that a corgi? Yeah. So the next following day, I think she was spotted. If we have that video of
at the bar,
at the bar with her father, just chilling. And now I think yesterday it was being reported. Does that have sound, Dwayne? Because I want you guys to hear.
No, this is just.
Okay, so in the sounds, you can hear the eyewitness saying, "Well, what are you doing here? You just killed your boyfriend. You just murdered your boyfriend. What are you doing here?" She tells her father not to respond to the eyewitness, and they're just shocked that she's able to just be out for free when she was supposedly in a mental state where she could not handle what was going on, yet she's out at the bar. Olay, what is your take on all of this?
Okay. All right. Let me give it all to you, because a lot of things can be true. A lot of things are true, right? I know the popular opinion on this on social media, as far as I know, Black women, our collective group has decided online that they're not really advocating for this guy because he's anti-Black woman, right? He posted a bunch of tweets like 10 years ago being anti. Yeah. So let me just say this. I think that's a valid. Listen, no one has to advocate for anybody. There's a lot of work, a lot of things, and a lot of tragedy in the Black communities. I can understand you trying to ration out your supporting your activism. So I am not going to indict Black women and act like they need to feel compelled to defend this man. However, now that being said, that's aside. The community is let off the hook. Now let me talk. This right here, this is the clearest example of exactly how this criminal system moves with white people. It does not matter whether or not, even if she claimed it's self-defense, even if she was having mental health issues, whatever it may be, if she were anybody else, those would be arguments for trial. Those would be arguments her lawyers would be trying to make. She still would have been arrested. She would have been charged. She would be looking with murder. With murder. She would never be the fact that this woman was not even charged is a reflection of how our criminal system disproportionately works, because you and I both know it don't matter what nobody does to me. If I stab a man to death right now, I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail. I'm going to fight that. I'm going to have to fight that. My lawyers can make those arguments, but I'm not going to just be free to be able to go to the bar and go do whatever it is. Even maybe, now it's a different conversation. I wouldn't be indicting them if they had arrested her and she was out on bail. That would be a different circumstance. But here, they're just taking at face value, a Black man is dead, and this white woman says, oh, he started it, or I was defending myself. So it's just we just let her off, no charges, no proof, no anything. She's just out and free. That 100% is that's unjust. That's unjust. That is racism. That's a reflection of our system being unfair. So anybody who has that criticism for it, totally legitimate. Like that's where I stand on that.
Yeah. No,
but I'm not surprised. But I am not surprised. I want to say this. I represent. Whenever, it's very rare, I could count for you how many times I've represented a white lady, okay? And ain't not a one of them ever gone to jail, not a community service, not a fine child, okay? Not a one. Anytime I see, it's very rare you see a white lady in the court. White woman privilege in criminal court is different. It's built different. It's way better than anything the white man got, okay? If you see a white woman in court, she did that shit.
Yeah, no, that is something that the fact that you pointed that out, that you had white women that you represented and they ain't never gone to court, and they ain't never really had to see no jail bars or nothing like that. Nothing. They never really had to just talk about their issues, because it is a systemic thing when the person happens to be especially a white woman. This is somebody that we've seen. While we've seen his tweets from 2015, from years ago, because they're 26, it's young, right? You know, and so for 10 years ago or whatever, they're 15 years old, they're in high school, whatever preference they think they want at that moment. If y'all would have saw what I was saying in high school, my beliefs, where I stood on things, you know what I'm saying? Like, we would have, y'all would hang me on the cross, but to hold him, these are some really spicy tweets. But he was a kid.
Hold on, pause it. Don't move the tweets. Let me read the tweets. Child. Ignorant child. Like, girl.
Oh, you haven't seen these tweets in person?
No, I did see a couple, but I saw them. I look, when the beautiful white girl.
So let me read a few.
And we have the statement from the brother after this.
So he says, I want a white girl help. He's asking for help to get a white girl. He says when the beautiful white girls wear yoga tights. Excuse me. I had to laugh about that, but he's dead. I can't do that. See, why y'all got me doing this right now? White girls wearing white booty shorts everywhere. Get that off the screen. Listen.
You know what I think is so funny? You know what I think is hilarious about this? Well, yeah. I can't say all the things I want to say, but I will say this. What I think is so funny in this particular white girl. I went on her page, whatever, right? A very enhanced white lady. They talk so much foolishness on Black women, right? And let's acknowledge, there was a time at Twitter where it was very popular for people to just be insane. Like, Twitter culture has changed over the years. Not to say I will ever give anybody a pass for cooning, because that's what he was doing. But as far as with this white lady, you talk all this on Black women just to get a white lady that has gone and got lip fillers and all these different things and tanners to do her very best to look like a knockoff Black lady. And now she stab you to death. That's crazy.
But he was 15 years old. I don't know what he was doing with his life, and he probably, experienced something different. I don't know what his tweets look like in the last few years of his life as he's been.
I know what his girl looked like in the last few years of his life.
I know what the girl started to change and morph into. I know that I saw her podcast. So while the tweets of him are going viral,
she's a podcast.
If we look at, she doesn't have a podcast. She was on a podcast because they give Black men who want to bash Black women microphones in this space to win. But anyways, they had her on this podcast, and so she was saying, he was saying, what type of women do you like? Or excuse me, what type of men do you like? And she says, I like them Black. I like them rich. And then she's like, well, let me say, I like them Black and rich. I like them Black and rich. I like them Black with money. And, as I begin to watch her say that, she said, I only date those kind. I mean, she is the whitest of the whitest. I'm talking a blonde, white, and she gets to sit on here on a Black man's podcast and just tell people that she likes Black rich men. Damn it, the feds is coming in. But, as I say this to say that we're so focused on his tweets from 2015, but are we looking at her statements and what she's been doing? And then in that same thing, as I changed my battery out, in that same podcast, she stated that she likes to be the aggressor in every situation when it comes to relationships. She will only be submissive, of course, in the bed, but she said, other than that, I run things. If you're not listening to me, it's going to be a problem. So watch as this woman speaks about that as we're posting his tweets from 2015. And also look at the fact that she finished stabbing this man. She went to go cuddle with her pet as she was in handcuffs. Cops let her go, saying that it was a mental issue. And then she went to go have a drink at the bar in Miami in an area where she killed her then boyfriend. Olay, take it away as I change my battery.
I'm really trying to fight the spirit, the spirit of an old black lady in my soul, being like, well, that's your gal. You shouldn't be messing with the white girls. And I'm really trying to fight it. I'm really trying to push it down to be like, she still murdered him. She's still wrong. I think, listen, the problem is this with what she's saying versus what he's saying is the reality is we don't not expect that from this white lady. You know what I mean? No one is shocked by what she said and what she did. Everybody's shocked about his conduct and what he said. And it's like, because it makes you be like, okay, on one word, it's like, yes, I can very much so see that this is an extremely problematic white woman, if by nothing else, by the fact that she murked her dude, right? Like, if nothing else gave it to me, the fact that she stabbed her dude to death, that gave it to me. But it's like, on one hand, I as a black, and I get it from other people's perspective, I'm always going to call out, injustice as it is. And this is that, right? This no matter what, even if all the tweets from 10 years ago are still how he felt present day, and he's still that person, he still does not deserve to die, and he still does not deserve to be killed by this girl, and he doesn't deserve to have to live, to have been a victim in a criminal system that will not acknowledge that this injustice happened against them or punish this girl or whatever it is. None of that is fair. And so that is still true fundamentally. But on the flip side of that, you knew this gal was, hey, so all these podcasts, this problematic white girl, this is who you was choosing to, lay up in bed with and do this and the next thing or whatever. And these are these are not fair consequences of those actions. Let me just say that. It's not at all.
Because she gets to cry.
It's hard for me to indict, for me to legitimately go on a soapbox and criticize, point out all the ways in which this white woman is terrible because the black man that I'm doing it on the behalf of was down for that. You know what I mean? You down for that. You like that. You like how this lady is conducting herself. And so, and to me, and there's another thing is based on what I'm seeing you said about black women, would you have accepted the same conduct and rhetoric from a black woman? But at the same time, then it comes down to, I don't want to hold black people responsible for internalized anti-blackness, because that's what that is. Everywhere that's coming from, the way in which he's clearly putting this white lady on a pedestal and he's putting black women down is because of something he's been taught. And he believes that it is some kind of social status reflector to be with this white girl, or what that says, or it's different, because he would judge the same conduct based on what I see and he said about black women. He would have so much to say, but clearly just the fact that she's white makes it acceptable or tenable.
He doesn't have anything to say right now because he's dead. She done stabbed him and he is gone. So that is that, and somebody said in the conversation,
Rebecca, you can't just say Rebecca, stop it.
Rebecca, that was terrible. That was horrible.
Rebecca,
I'm sorry.
I just had to come in and say that was horrible. Okay.
He is gone. I will say this. Somebody said in the comment section that he needs to get out. He can't get out because he's under now. All due to this white woman who gets to, he can't say nothing from the grave. What she can do though is say Karen. She can say privilege. She can say he hurt me. Who is not going to believe a white woman? Who's not going to believe a white woman that
made her do it out to be an aggressor? She plays a white. Listen, and I represented it in court, so I already know. All right, I represented a white girl who came and presented me the defense child. She did that. She's that's the funny thing. It's like, no matter how much she's doing all this decoration and trying to make herself something else, and no matter what pedestal he's put on, whatever they're doing, at the end of the day, she is still fully aware of what her social standing is as a white woman, because it didn't take her nothing but a millieffing second to put that story into place. Immediately, man, dead, bloodied, stabbed him up. It's not really. It's not giving. I'm having a hard time. Listen, that's a big. Have you ever been in battle with a man? You got to drop on him. It's not giving me that he was the. You got to drop on him, sweetie. You stabbed him and just killed him. It's not really giving me what you're saying. It's giving me. And also, I hate that they never do this. Whenever we talk about white people in self-defense, the proportionality standard always seems to fly out the window. Self-defense is not, Rebecca, if you say to me, you're going to slap me, or like you said, I make a slap you, I cannot shoot you. I can't stab you. That's not proportional self-defense. I could grab your hand. I could slap you. I could maybe punch you or something proportional to stop that. But you can't just say, hey, we would have an argument. He was the aggressor, whatever. Some. So I stabbed him to death. Did he threaten to stab you, sweetie, at any point?
But when it's a white woman, but when it's a white woman or a white person, even, it's just kind of like, but they find reasoning or not. It's like how it's two things. We've seen how police deal with white people when they do, like I'm talking committing domestic terrorism. We see how cops and leaders just be like, oh, that's crazy. Right? But a black person at the hand of it, we're going to see it stapled, taped. We're going to see what the person looks like, the representation. We're going to see and know their history. The first picture that they're going to show is them looking like bad little kids, or
could you imagine if it had been reversed?
And then,
could you imagine?
We're going to see something different.
Stabbed and
this girl is a OnlyFans model. She's an OnlyFans model.
He'd be under the jail. He'd be under the jail. He'd be under
exactly. So
the
what
jail.
The problem is that I see here, and then they will be like, we would know what she looks like. We would everything. But the problem that I have here with this whole thing is how white women can just say he whistled at me, lie about it, no kind of evidence or nothing. And I'm taking it back to Emmett Till, a whole little black boy, a black boy, and they can say that this happened. There is no evidence, no anything, and then live their lives, go out and live their lives, have a whole family while somebody's child was taken from them. And then we're looking at, fast forward to today with this OnlyFans model and this young fella in Miami. She got to go to sleep, wake up the next day knowing that she stabbed somebody covered in his blood, and go to sleep the next day, wake up, be with her family, and go get a drink at the bar.
Yeah, that don't shock me now, because you know what we've learned here? I hate to say it, but there's just no loyalty, no comfort, and no solace in cooning. These are because even if the consequences, you don't deserve to be killed, but the reality is that when you don't have any solidarity with your community, and you because you think it's to your advantage to criticize your community and criticize black women and whatever it is, you want to go be adjacent to this white lady and stuff. What happens is when you inevitably suffer the consequences of living in a racist country, because you do, and you will experience that. It doesn't matter what you would say as a black person. Say what you want. Do what you want. You are still black, and you will still always be on the receiving end of some racism. What will happen is your community doesn't show up for you. And that's unfortunate. But here's the thing is our community is full. We have our dance card is very full with tragedy and injustice and things that we have to advocate around and stuff like that. So I cannot even in good faith tell black women that already spearhead the movement on every kind of social injustice for us, every kind of black person is wrongfully killed, every kind of police brutality, black women are at the forefront, championing that and shedding light on the fact that it's unjust. And, I know that here we are, two black women talking about it, and I ain't seen nobody else, decide to talk about it anywhere publicly or make the noise. And still, even with those reservations, we're still like, you know what, this is unjust. So let's say this, because it's always us doing that. So the consequences are, your community don't show up. They decide, they pick and choose, Listen, I can't take that on. This was a person that is completely dispelling or dismissing the reality of racism. And you want to go be kikied and laid up with this white woman. And based on the conduct that we've seen from you, it looks like if it had not been you, it had been a different situation and stuff, you probably wouldn't have had too much to say. So I can, in good faith, be like, listen, ladies, we gotta go to war for this one right here. I feel bad for him. Don't get me wrong. I still think he's a young kid. I still think that I don't think black people are to blame, and don't get me wrong, and that's hard for me to say because I don't like cooning, but I don't think black people are to blame for internalized anti-blackness and for the different ways in which that's acted out. That is the country and the society that we live around and how that comes about. So I don't want to blame this young kid that he's making decisions based on whatever is the world, how it was treating him. And it's unfortunate that he has those tweets and all these different things that are leading, people to say, no, I'm not going to show up for you. But those are the consequences. And for those of you that are still there, because he's not the only one. There's a tribe. He is from a tribe of black men that have them a problematic white girl next to them doing the same thing.
They on the podcast. They got the mics in their hand. They not working. They don't
put the mic down and pick up a book.
They go. Girl,
that's what you need to do.
All they got to do is go on to the internet and say, black women are trash. And then they get all these views. They just say, Future is a god. They get all these views. Yeah. They get all the girl. They just be like, we don't wash our ass. They get all these views. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's and they don't need no mic in their hand. They don't need no mic in their hand. But this is what we have. So you're right though. In this particular space, I ain't even mad at the people who feel like they do. My mind.
I got it. Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, but my mind goes straight to justice, though, because if he was a regular person that wasn't killed by this white woman and was killed by a cop, I would still want. I'm shooting. I'm like, I don't care. He needs justice because we can't. this is the same thing. If this white woman wins in this particular situation while the world is watching, imagine all the other ones that's going to be waiting to be like, shoot, I could do what she did. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure we ain't even heard of it. I'm sure it's happening all the time. I'm sure it's happening all the time. And we don't even, and we're not even hearing about it. And we're not this. But listen, here's the gag. Let me tell you something. I live in a world where if I were to say tomorrow that I had like a white boyfriend or something, which I don't, but if I said that, they would, and I know because I've been experiencing it. I've been on a podcast where I just was sitting next to a black woman that made a joke that black men were able to, they extrapolated to infer that she might date only white men or something. And they called her and me and every black woman that was on their bed went for 3 days, full 3 straight days. So I know how the world responds to black women when we are so much as just romantically involved with a white man. We don't got to say one disparaging word about black men or anything like that or whatever. So let me tell you something. I can't jump up for this man too much like that. Like, you know what? Like,
we don't have anything to say, but there needs to be justice here. But everything else I have to say, I don't want to speak about his characteristics. And those tweets are from 2015. Now, his choice of being with the white woman is his choice.
It ain't no white woman. It's the white woman. It isn't.
I was gonna say I have no issue with white women, but when you choose a certain type of person, period, I don't care what it is, but they can turn off and turn on whatever they want to. Like they will use their whiteness to privilege them when they are abusing black people or people of color. They can use their whiteness to get them out of any situation. And I think that is something that we need to understand. I have dated a white person and I've seen him switch on and switch off that whiteness in him. Okay, sure. So so I've seen it done in places where my blackness is very huge in that area, is very apparent, it's very prominent. I've seen him utilize his whiteness to protect me. So in this particular, that was back when I was a little thing. I can't do that in my life today.
If you dated a white man right now and you got on Twitter, Rebecca, and you was like, fuck black men, pop, this exactly. He was talking real spicy. If he murked your ass, you wouldn't hear but a whisper.
No. Girl.
I lied. You wouldn't hear about it because you would become the photos, the cause of like, you see that? You see what happens to them? Like that's how they would give it up. And you know
nothing. We wouldn't hear a thing. Just like the girl who went on the Bumble date. We haven't heard about that case since. That strange Bumble date with that white man, and the white man,
exactly. And he killed her.
Police up and said, seemed like a good guy. That's it. And went on about that day.
That's how they go. That's how they go. Yeah. And you got to know that when you listen, you can't choose these people that are fetishizing you. And you know what? On the flip side of this is, I mean, he was fetishizing her too. It's a relationship filled with problematic racial ignorance, you know? And you know what? I can't get into these people's business. I cannot I will always call injustice what it is. If somebody that is that. It is still unfair. His family, he deserves support. I'm not one of those people that's going to be like, no one should criticize. Like, I'm not going to criticize people for supporting him or people for rising above and say, you know, these are tweets, this is whatever. Because if we got into the business of only defending black people, only caring about racial solidarity and racial justice, only when the black person themselves is perfect or all their views were unproblematic, we're going to run into problems. Hopefully, preferably, they not be like a string of anti-black women tweets that we can pull up. That's not best. But we shouldn't necessarily get into the business of policing it like that. I still believe, you know, he deserves support and he deserves his family to rally behind him. But at the end of the day, if you don't support community don't support you. So if in your life, it's unfortunate he's young, he's this, but from what we can tell, like, I'm not even talking about the past. At the end of the day, like, the tweets or whatever, I could dismiss that. But the present day, based on, you know, that tweet, that background, your present day choice in women and how you appear to be living based on what this woman is saying, because I don't know a black man that feels strongly about his community and black people and stuff that's going to be too hype about no white lady. He's being like, oh yeah, I want rich black men. Could you imagine? They wouldn't even like that from, I as a black woman can't even say I want a rich black man.
No, we can't. Girl, we can't say that.
I can't say that.
We will be murdered. No, we can't say that because now they're going to be like, oh, she's a gold digger. Yeah. But anywho, it is so much that we can get into this. I think that we can agree that he does deserve justice. His brother has put out a statement, you know, with saying basically what you were saying and the fact that we have to rise above a certain level and get the justice, because if we continue on just this one conversation about his tweets from 2015, we're not going to get anywhere with it. There's a white woman on the loose. There's a white murderer who is free. She's on the loose. Somebody go go tame her. Somebody get her, put her under the jail, because we need to make an example out of situations like this. Because like you said, this has probably been happening, but now it is in the news. It is in our eyes. It's because of us that we've made this story viral. Whatever side we were on of it, the story has been pushed forward because we've been talking about it. So I hope that he does get justice, his family does get justice, and be careful what y'all tweet online. Now, before we get out of here,
before we get out of here, community.
Yeah, before we get out of here, there's so much that's happening. I know that you are in New York, both of you guys, David, both of you and Ole are in New York. It's a breaking news right now. People were shot. Undetonated devices were found in Brooklyn subway. Multiple people have been shot in Brooklyn. Yeah, subway station. And several undetonated devices were also found in the location, according to fire officials and 3 law enforcement sources. They stress the investigation is preliminary. At least 5 people were said to be shot by a man about 5 feet 5 inches tall, 180 pounds, who was wearing a gas mask and an orange construction vest, according to 3 senior law enforcement officials. He fled the scene and has not been caught. Several law enforcement sources say the shooter may have thrown a device before opening fire at the 36th Street and 4th Avenue station in Sunset Park around 8:30 a.m. today. The extent of the victim's injuries are not yet clear, but the story is still developing. You guys be careful out there, both you and David. I know David said he's not in Brooklyn, but I know you in Brooklyn. Just be careful out there. People in the streets are psychopaths. They're crazy. Please be careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. We'll be covering more. We'll be as the story develops. We definitely be covering it right here on Like It or Not. But we are at the end of the show, and thank you, all the ladies. Georgia, thank you for pulling up. Noah, thank you for pulling up. And Olay, it's always a great time with you, Mama. We have such a good time. We can make politics fun. We can make the news stories fun. Be careful, like I said, in New York. I will see you next time. Go and be great on Twitter and all them other spaces that you take over. Love you, mean it.
I will. Bye, boo. Love you too.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in today for the ladies only episode. Shout out to Georgia, Rebecca, Noah, and Ole for joining us this morning. Definitely need to do this. It was a moment of movement. Black beauty on the screen, and we love to see it. Shout out to y'all, man. Anyway, again, we will be here tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Y'all gonna be great today. Enjoy your day and do something special for yourself. And your affirmation for today: I am devoted to my healing process. I am devoted to my healing process. Love y'all, mean it. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Deuces, don't forget Patreon Party Friday. We'll see y'all then. Deuces.